Long-time viewers of the One Pot Chef Show channel will know that I love donuts, but I don't get to have them very often these days because deep fried food just doesn't agree with me like it used to, but it doesn't mean I need to miss out entirely. I've made some fantastic oven-baked versions over the years, and today I've got another fabulous one for you. It's a classic donut that everybody loves. Let's make some beautiful oven-baked cinnamon donuts on the One Pot Chef. First things first, let's work on our dry ingredients. Into a mixing bowl, I've got 1 cup of plain all-purpose flour, and to that I'm going to add in 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder and 3/4 of a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda or baking soda. I'm adding in 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Now the reason I'm using brown sugar today instead of regular white sugar is that I want to add that little bit of background caramelly, treacly flavour that comes from the brown sugar, but I also want to have that little bit of colour added to the mixture, so that way it's nice and slightly tan colour, gives it a nice golden colour when it cooks, so it's not too pasty white. And also I'm adding in a little bit of cinnamon too. I'm adding in 1 teaspoon. And all we need to do is just mix those dry ingredients together. Make a little well in the centre there, and we're just going to set this aside while we work on our wet ingredients. Our wet ingredients are nice and easy. I've got into a little mixing jug, I've got 1 cup of plain vanilla yogurt. I'm using yogurt today because this is going to be our substitute for yeast, which you normally use if making proper donuts. The live culture in the yogurt is going to help to make our donuts less cakey and more light and fluffy, more like a traditional fried donut. And to that I'm going to add in 1 egg and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And just mix those together until completely combined. Add the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and just mix to combine. You can see this is really thick, so I'm going to transfer this into a Ziploc bag, and I've just sort of popped it into a cup to make things easier. So just put that in there like that, and we just lift that out and squeeze it all into one corner, and then all we have to do is snip off the end with a pair of scissors. I've got our donut pan here, which I've just lightly greased with a bit of spray-on oil, and you can get these fairly cheap everywhere now. I got this from Kmart a couple of years ago for about $5. You can get them online, have a look on eBay or Amazon. They're very easy to find, and all we need to do is squeeze our donut mixture into each of the holes, making sure you don't overfill it. You only want to fill it about 3/4 of the way in each one. This amount of mixture will get you about 10 to 12 mini donuts like this size. It depends on how much of the mixture you put in each hole. As I said, I do recommend only filling them the maximum 3/4 into each hole. Otherwise they tend to mushroom up over the top like muffins, and so you end up with muffin on one side and donut on the other. So just be careful. Right, these are ready to go into the oven. Preheated oven, 180 degrees Celsius, 365 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes, or until the donuts have risen and they're lightly golden. While our donuts are in the oven baking, I thought I'd take this opportunity to remind you to check out my social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Links in the video description underneath this video on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the subscribe button and that little notification bell next to it. That way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. And here we have our oven-baked cinnamon donuts fresh out of the oven. We're going to allow them to cool in the tray for about 5 minutes or so before transferring them onto a wire rack. Once the donuts have cooled slightly, all that's left to do is to give them a little bit of a dredge in some cinnamon sugar. So I've made up some cinnamon sugar. I've got 1 cup of plain white sugar, and I just added in a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, which I've just mixed into there. Now, if these were regular deep fried donuts, the donuts would have a little bit of oil on the outside. from the deep frying, which would allow the sugar to cling on, but because they're oven baked, they don't have that. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to take each of the donuts and I'm just going to quickly dunk it in a little bit of melted butter and then just quickly dredge them in the cinnamon sugar like so. Lovely. And just keep going with all of them. And here we have our completed oven-baked cinnamon donuts. They're absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to dive in and have a taste of these. How stunning do they look? Oh, you would never know that these were oven-baked. All right, no more mucking about. Time for a taste. Mmm. Oh, so sugary. These are unmistakably cinnamon donuts. Like, you can see on the inside they're nice and light and fluffy, almost like a fried one, but again, oven baked. You've got a wonderful cinnamon flavour to it, both in the donut and in the coating. It's got a slight crispness to the outside, soft and fluffy on the inside, not cakey as much as it is just donutty, really. Well, I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Check out my other videos at onepotchefshow.com. And until next time, see you later. Using this basic recipe, you can alter it to make all sorts of different kinds of donuts. If you're not a fan of cinnamon, you could leave it out. In the dry ingredients, you could add a tablespoon of cocoa to make chocolate donuts. If you're more like a fruitier type of person with your donuts, you could leave out the cinnamon and simply mix in some fruit into the wet ingredients. Some mixed berries would be great. If you wanted to go for something really fun, you could simply add a banana to this mixture, just mash it up and mix it in with the wet ingredients, and you end up with banana bread donuts. You could use some cream cheese frosting on top to finish it off. Absolutely phenomenal. So give it a go. Tell me in the comments what variations you would do, or if you make this one, send me a picture on Instagram or on Twitter or Facebook so I can check out your creations.